Shall we start straight away without any ceremonies? Not with you. Yes, please, that's okay.
Assalamu alaikum. The day before yesterday, I was talking to a Shiite Muslim, and he quoted a hadith. According to him, it is from Bukhari, that once the Holy Prophet ﷺ was asleep, and his head was on the lap of Hazrat Ali, according to him, and while he was asleep, the sun set. And when he woke up, it was already Asr prayer time had gone. So he asked him, why didn't you wake me up? So he said, because you were deep asleep, so I didn't want to disturb you. Now according to him, he said the Holy Prophet ﷺ moved his finger like that.
All focus points impossible.
And he was so adamant on this that he said, well, this is something which...
Tell him to show you the reference.
Yes. I was just thinking that...
it's all hocus pocus. Nothing, no truth in it whatsoever.
Seemed to me a very learned person, but such a hocus pocus which I felt was, they very strictly believe in it. So I was just wondering how to sort these people out who have...
You can't. Anybody who believes in anything, how can you sort him out? It's impossible. You can tell him that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is declared to be Uswa Hasana in the Holy Quran, an ideal model for you to follow. So you can pose him the question, if you do follow him, you follow him in this respect as well, please. And move your finger, and if you can't bring the entire sun back, only bring the very small rim of the sun back, because of course you can't fully follow him, entirely follow him, but at least to this degree you can follow him. Tell him in whatever we believe about him, we can prove that we can follow him. There is nothing barred from us. We can't say the prayer of that quality, of course, but to somewhat we can have the pleasure of following him to a certain degree. In everything which he did, we can follow him to a certain degree, except for where Allah has categorically told us that this is for him and not for you. Min dunil mu'mineen, these are a few places where Allah has mentioned it. But in this case, it doesn't apply. So if he believes in him truly to have done that, then he should be able to repeat it to a little extent. Because no superhuman model could be created for man. This is the simple logic of this. Superhuman models should be for human beings. Human model is for human beings. So this incident does not relate to a human model at all. Any other question, please? Bashir Yad Sahab aaye hue hain? Yes, Dr. Sahab, please come.
Assalamu alaikum. Considering history of religion, especially of Islam, what measure Ahmadiyyat has taken to keep continuing the institution of Khilafat as a stable and keep it going on further?
What measures have been taken?
Yes, please.
I mean, they are already there before you.
No, how we will know whether it's going to be continued in future or not?
Hazrat Masih Maud has been given this glad tidings by Allah that his Khilafat would continue till the day of, doomsday is what has been promised him. Qudrat-e-Saniya would come and stay forever. And that was exactly like it happened in vis-a-vis Hazrat Masih ﷺ, the first Messiah. His Khilafat is continuing still. and it will continue to remain so. Whether it has lost its quality or not, this is not the issue. But Khilafat itself would continue. What has been told to Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ is that Khilafat Salihah would remain for 1000 years. And he has been declared as Mujaddid of 1000 years. So with that guarantee, you don't have to bother much about it. As far as the day-to-day problems are concerned, whoever is the Khalifa of the time, he can effectively deal with them and see to it that no threat is created to any effect. And whenever a threat of any sort begins to raise its head, either covertly or overtly, it is very effectively dealt with the grace of Allah. Is that what you had in mind or something else? Perhaps you couldn't make yourself clear because I can see on your face the question is still hanging over your eyebrow.
No, about my question I am quite clear, but what I see in other religions, say in Christianity, to stabilize they have introduced various offices for bishops and then archbishops, then cardinals.
But they don't stabilize Pope or the papacy.
No, as
they hang on papacy. They don't stabilize it.
No, as the Christianity, as it is spreading, so they are organizing to subdivisions of those local areas to be organized by cardinals.
Haven't you seen Jamaat Ahmadiyya organized into thousands of chapters by now? And it's very much more solidly organized body than any other similar or even dissimilar body in the world. This you can claim without fear of contradiction. Whether it is a religious body or irreligious body or a religious body, whatever you may compare Ahmadiyyat with, there is absolutely no comparison in matter of organization. Each small branch, each branch, whether it is small or big, is organized in the form of chapters, and in that we have also established the democratic system of election of office bearers, etc. And a supervision system is also superimposed on this basic structure, so that if the democracy tends to go wrong, then the superimposed system of keeping watch over it as representatives of Khalifa's eyes sees to it that before the damage is done, the culprits are removed. So it is the healthiest form of democracy which is working in the world, and in fact the only democracy which can be declared as pure democracy, an honest democracy, without any factions, without any personal ends or gains to achieve. So show me any other body in the world which has such pure form of democracy in practice. There is no falsehood who is involved, no false propaganda is either permitted or carried out to gain votes. A person who is elected even doesn't propose his name. Most often than not, he tries to keep away from such responsibilities, to shun the responsibilities. But when imposed, then he goes forward like a brave man and carries them. So Khilafat is the ideal combination of the democratic ideology with the ideology of representatives or visurgents of Allah who keep guard over the working or healthy working of the system. So it's most beautifully fused together system. And yet you are wondering whether it has come into being or not.
Because of the previous experience in history of Islam.
No such thing is found there of this nature anywhere in the world. This is unique. This is why Hazrat Muslim Maud was, even before his birth, declared to be a great Muslim Maud. These are the things which he has achieved, fantastic things which have no parallel in history or in the present times. An organization like the organization of Jamaat Ahmadiyya is unparalleled. Nowhere in the world, at any time you can find such beautifully well-poised organization and so well looked after in detail. Right at the lowest rung, we have an observing eye. Anything happens in the remotest regions of Nigeria comes to my notice. And before any mischief can develop, we take effective remedial measures. And yet the whole system is running on this basis of cooperation without any coercion, without any imposition which pinches or hurts. Just through a mutual understanding and perfect, coordination between those who are at lower rung and those who are at a higher rung of authority. Things are so fluently and most, what should I say?
Smoothly.
Well lubricated, in a well lubricated manner, are flowing and working that you don't hear any noise. You don't see any ripples. The ideal organization is the one where there is no noise. The greater the friction is, the greater the noise would be created, the greater the heat generation and panic and, hurry, running to and fro and this and that. So this has always been my ideal of organization. Wherever I have worked in whatever capacity, I have always tried to achieve this, that you set a system and put it into such quiet working that after that you just retrieve into nothingness. You don't seem to be involved so fanatically and vehemently in everything, but you remain in touch with everything quietly. If a Langar Khana, ideal Langar Khana is to be observed during Langar Khana Jalsa Salana, the same criterion would apply there. During the best time of our Langar Khana, when things were moving most efficiently, everything seemed to be settled and quiet and set. No hurrying to and fro, no noise. Everything was going automatically as if there was no energy involved, while greatest energy was involved. When the car engine is idling and revving, then you see how much noise it makes. When it's put into gear, it's using much more energy, yet it becomes quiet and smooth and burring. So that also goes with the organization. Now imagine the whole world organization of Jamaat Ahmadiyya is working so quietly, silently, without making a noise, but those who are working it, who are operating it, they know the thrill of power below. Everything is throbbing with power in Jamaat Ahmadiyya. But it's quiet and perfect, working in perfect coordination. So this is why you missed it, this is the beauty of the system.
Thank
you don't take note of it, what's happening. I generally tell people who are not involved in zamindara, that is agriculture directly, that any citizen of big cities or towns who has no personal knowledge of how agriculture is done, if he goes to a farm, passes by, he thinks that everything is, running automatically, no labor is involved, and quietly things are going on. There is such quiet in the fields. And what actually happens is that the farmer is one of the busiest men in the country. Hardly can he sometimes find time to look into his, personal affairs, even so that it is said that during October season, some farmer lost his mother, the mother died, and he shoved his mother into some porola, they call it. A porola is the thing where you also keep wheat and things, corn, etc. and other articles which may be required later on, you keep on shoving them in the porola. So he shoved his mother in the porola because he had no time to bury her. After he was relieved of that pressure of work, then he could attend later on. I mean, this is just to illustrate how busy a farmer is. He rises up early, in the middle of the night in fact, very close to the middle of the night, and goes to the farm quietly with his plough and buffaloes, and all you hear is ta-ta-ta and this slight noise which is lost in the general hubbub of the whole world at that time. And nobody notices that when he's ploughing, when he's moving things from one place to another, a lot of labor is involved, and a lot of organization is required, and a lot of attention is to be paid every minute to the farming, to what is happening here, what is required there. Even watering of the field requires so much responsibility, so much attention, and so much labor is put into it. But everything seems to be so quiet, moving around, along in perfect order, that you think things are moving automatically. So this is how Allah's nature is working. The whole phenomenon of growth, vegetation, animal reproduction is taking place quietly. You don't take notice. The universe is revolving and everything is moving on, and immense things are going on before your observation which you don't take note of. This is what it means when the Holy Quran says, "Summa stawa ala al-arsh." Once he organized the whole universe, then he retrieved onto his throne of supervision, overall supervision, and as if he was resting over there. So the best organizer is one who moves things, puts things into motion, into proper motion, into a coordinated motion, and when everything is involved in his own respective tasks, then he can have time to sit aloof and watch from the above what is happening around, and only then he can look after everything, otherwise not. So this is the lesson which Allah has given us in perfect organization. And with the grace of Allah, as I said, Jamaat Ahmadiyya is the only world organization which is built on the pattern of nature. And this is why it is so quiet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking this question, because otherwise the subject might not have been discussed at all by us, because nobody took notice. Yeah.
One more.
Yes, please.
Well, I have been in close contact with these Christian missions in East Africa.
Yes.
And they have been trying their best to to establish sub-missions and small missions in small vicinities of Tanzania by establishing local bishops or
branches.
Yes, branches.
Yes.
And they had a direct contact with the head office all the times. It means just like a tree, which is even the smallest branch is in contact with the stem.
Yes, this is exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
If it leaves the contact with the stem, then it
will die out.
Yes. And this is what I wanted to know, what measures we are taking to stabilize our further institution of Khilafat. That even
this is developing naturally, it is evolving automatically. More you grow, the more branches are automatically taking shape and organization is added upon. Like life, being a doctor, how the life grows. Child is born of a different size, and when he grows into an old ripe man, the whole body, everything is grown out of all proportion. to what he was born with. So when he grows, accordingly, his internal requirements and channels of blood vessels and nervous system and every other thing also grows along. So only there is an inherent quality and a coded message within that everything must develop according to an organization and according to a set planned system. But that planning is not obvious. It is dormant. It is as an inherent nature of the thing. When that requirement arises, then automatically that planning, that inherent planning goes into operation. So something very similar is happening in Jamaat Ahmadiyya. Wherever we grow a need, the solution for that need also grows along. And the system sees to it that it is done properly. Of course, there can be miscarriage everywhere in the world, like in the body, pathological diseases and defects are found everywhere, but in a very minor number of cases as compared to the whole number. So I don't say that Jamaat Ahmadiyya is perfect in this regard, that there are no exceptions. Of course, minor accidents do take place. Some flaws are left here and there. Some loopholes are found in some other places. But as compared to the whole system, this can be, described as the system of life. So what Allah has provided us is with Nizam-e-Khilafat, which in itself is the coded message, how you should do things and how you should go about for the future needs and everything. So that is working all right with the grace of Allah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, start, sir.
So talking about the Ahmadiyya organization, I have learned that even the staunch enemies of Ahmadiyya movement, for example Jamaat Islami, etc., they are trying to copy this beautiful system, as they have this so-called Jamiat-e-Tulaba. I heard that on the same basis...
Not only this, they organize their whole Jamaat on the pattern of Jamaat Ahmadiyya.
That's right, sir.
But that is like creating a dummy of a human being.
Right, sir.
You can't put life into dummies.
No.
That life is that coded inherent message which comes from Allah, that is supplied through Nizam-e-Khilafat.
Correct, sir.
So the quality, the approach, the mutual relationship, it's completely different. It is poisoned at every juncture. Everybody is pulling things for himself, in his direction. More power to be acquired and more to be had and more to be exhibited.
Yes.
So the whole pattern, and the inner pattern is completely different, though the outer pattern is quite similar. Apparently a man with a cursory examination or not having no qualities of going deeper into things would say another Jamaat Ahmadiyya is created, as if, because Maulana Maududi followed Hazrat Muslim Maud so closely. Whatever he did, he also did. He even adopted his style of writing and address. He thought therein lies the true wisdom and secret for success. But to no avail. That organization lacks that quality of life which has been supplied to us by Allah Himself.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please, little boy, who are you? Yes, I know, yes. Come on. I have seen you after a long, long time. Eh? Where have you been? Have you been coming? Wa alaikum salam, yes.
After Islam came to Medina, what was the next country it spread in?
क्या कहते हैं? मुझे नहीं समझ आई.
After Islam came to Medina, what was the next country it spread in?
Medina is not a country,
After
Medina is a
Islam-
city, about 250 miles from Mecca, towards the north of Mecca. So when Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the holy founder of Islam, migrated from Mecca, he went to the city of Medina. And at that time, the majority of the Medina people were not Muslims. There was Islam in two tribes mainly, but not that the entire tribe had become Muslim. But still they had enough number to accommodate him and to influence the opinion in the city elsewhere. So that is what Medina was at the time of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and how it came into being the second center of Islam. So it is just a town. Right? Any other question? Bashir Yad Sahib has arrived, huh? And also Rashid Sahib. Where is he? Yes, come on. You can go and please say you say.
Huzur, I had a problem of questions. 3 small ones, 2 big ones. Is that okay to ask?
Okay, go ahead please.
Huzur, Ahmadiyya Jamaat has been accused by non-Ahmadi Muslims that they have cleverly translated and interpreted the Holy Quran into various languages the way it suits them. And thus they are misleading the innocent
What do
people.
they want? We should do it the way it suits them?
My question is, could you kindly guide us how we can make these people understand that we are doing nothing wrong?
You can't? Tell me. Can't you make them understand this?
So I want your guidance, please. Yeah.
No, I'm asking you the same question. Can't you make them understand this? Have you ever tried your hand at it?
Well, I have argued with quite a few of them.
Did they understand ultimately?
Apparently they do, but in heart I don't think they do.
How could you reach their heart?
So they come back with the same question again, you see, that's why.
Again and again.
Yes.
So they have taken after you.
Could you kindly throw some light on this, please? How to convince these people?
You can't, somebody who has a crooked approach, who doesn't want to believe you, you can't convince him. It's impossible. The fact is that the issue itself cannot be decided like the way you are doing it in a debate. You have to invite their attention to the points where they think we have deviated from the right course and made a wrong translation. Unless they prove the point from keeping our translations in view, you can't discuss the issue. This is why they are not convinced. They have just made an allegation without having any knowledge of the Holy Quran themselves. Most of the people who discuss these things, they don't know even one translation of a single line of the Holy Quran. What they have done is they have read allegations from some books or in newspapers and they go on repeating them like a parrot. So because they don't know, you can't convince them. They would only believe the ulama of their side, and whatever you say, they'll say, no, we don't believe you, they are right. So unless somebody is knowledgeable enough who can investigate the matter himself, put it to proper test, you can't convince him. Unless as a totality you can prove the Maulvis to be false and prove to them that they are liars and give instances where you can prove them. But on these academic affairs you can't prove, because as I have told you, the main problem with us is that they don't have any academic qualifications. I mean, they're almost ignorant of the Holy Quran. So it's impossible to discuss things of any learning with a totally ignorant person. One question? Finished, or will it still continue?
No, it's just one small one that was.
One?
That was one small question.
Acha. The big ones are yet to come. Yes.
In Surah Luqman, Allah Ta'ala has said about Hazrat Luqman, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Hazur, could you kindly, this is first part of the question, could you kindly let us know whether Hazrat Luqman was a prophet or just...
Well, there are two opinions about it. Some people believe in him to be just a wise man, and most of the Muslim scholars do that. And some consider him to be a prophet.
So where was he from? Was he from Egypt, Greek or Ethiopia?
Or any other country of the world.
Would you please throw some light if you know the...
Pardon?
Could you kindly give us some history?
No, I have no idea.
And sir, after preaching what he preached, that beautiful verses in the Holy Quran.
There is a discussion about this in Tafsir Kabir and elsewhere as well. People have conjectures. No definite knowledge is possessed by anyone. Just you can conjecture that he might have been from that country or from that country. But it was not considered important by the Holy Quran, or Holy Quran might have mentioned it, should have mentioned it otherwise. So what is the next question, please?
A third part of the question, same question. After preaching his son, those beautiful verses, in Shirk al-Zulmun Azim, and other things which are following after that, how much we know about his son? Was he a righteous man, or what the history?
What do you think?
Do you know any detail, please?
Pardon?
Do you know any details?
You know, the Holy Quran has its particular style. Now, by the way, when you read these verses, the injunctions of Luqman to his son, one cannot fail to recognize the language of prophets. When Abraham is addressing his sons, or Isaac is addressing his sons, and so on, other prophets are admonishing their children, they generally use the same style of language. Particularly, they lay special stress upon perfect unity of God, unbreakable, insplittable unity. And they bring to the limelight the abhorrence of idolatry and so on. So the whole style of Hazrat Luqman seems to be that of a prophet. Now it is the style of the Holy Quran that if an admonishment is carried to, is successfully accepted, it leaves the matter at that. It doesn't go into detail about that. But when it is denied or rebelled against, then invariably the Holy Quran speaks on what happened later on. You can't find any exception to this general rule. Wherever a word of advice is rendered or admonishment is given to some people, if they accept it, the Holy Quran doesn't enlarge further on the subject. If it is rejected or rebelled against, then the Holy Quran always points out to the ill consequences of their behavior and non-cooperation, and the punishment which is meted out to them by Allah. So in this regard, the obvious conclusion is that the son was a righteous man, and he must have accepted the advice of his father, or the Holy Quran should have told us. He listened to him, and then didn't obey, and then this happened to him. So because that part is missing, so it is unnecessary. It is obviously implied that he was a righteous man.
Third small question, sir.
Yes, please.
Hazur, Allah Ta'ala has said about Hazrat Muhammad.
You are still in the region of small questions. You have not yet entered the long ones, eh?
I got long ones in separate pockets. Hazur, about Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala has said, An-Nabiyyu Ummi, Ar-Rasulu Ummi.
Yes.
Could you kindly exactly tell us what Ummi mean, please? Because there's a lot of controversial points coming up in the newspaper nowadays.
What is the controversy? First tell me that.
So I want to ask you, please.
No, I want to ask you.
Somebody has written an essay in the newspaper,
Yes.
saying that I'm more educated than Nauz Billah, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I have graduation and this and that.
So?
Apparently this is absolutely rude and
No,
absurd.
but this is not the point we are discussing at the moment. You are asking, you're asking me the translation of the word Ummi.
Yes, please.
And you have also mentioned that there is some controversy going on in the newspapers about the translation, correct translation of the word Ummi. Is that not so?
Although it is true, but...
But what is the controversy?
No, I'll come back to my original question. Could you kindly explain?
So I'll go back to my original question then. Tell me what this controversy is.
No, maybe I misunderstood the newspaper.
No, maybe you have, but tell us the misunderstanding you had.
Could you kindly explain what...
I will do that after you have told me what you have understood from the reports of the newspapers, whether rightly understood or wrongly. But whatever you have understood.
So what I understood was that in my mind of thinking, I mean, I nearly blew up. Who is he to blame our Prophet?
No, that is not the question. Again you are referring back to that stupid thing. What I am saying is that the controversy about the meaning of Ummi, the word Ummi.
Yes.
What is the nature of this controversy?
Hazur, other day you said, sir, in these question and answer sessions, that Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was Khatamun Nabiyyin before anybody was born.
Yes.
I mean, keeping that in mind, surely this is absurd to ask the way I'm asking you, what does Rasul Ummi mean? But, since this has come up in the newspaper, I thought it's better if...
Exactly, this is what I'm asking you. What has come up in the newspapers? I don't read these things, so I'm asking you. I should be abreast of what is happening. Now you have told me that there is a debate going on.
May I come back on this one tomorrow, sir? I'll read it properly again in the newspaper and come back on
You will
this
come
one.
back tomorrow while you will not be here.
Next week, sir.
Eh?
May I come back next week on this
Okay,
one?
yes, okay.
So next question.
Yes. And still his big ones are untouched, they're lying,
Hazur, this is
lying tucked safely in this pocket.
Hazur, this is not practical question, but I was
This is not what? This is
Would
not
you kindly explain, sir?
Huh?
This is a theoretical question. I don't know whether I'm supposed to ask or not. Hazur, if our Mohsin Azam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, had not come in the world, what would have happened to us and our religion? Please, could you explain?
What would have been your religion? First tell me that.
No, can I say it again? If
First
our
let
Mohsin
me
Azam-
know, what an if, imagine first of all, if he had not come, That again reminds me of the same verse which I have repeated so many times here previously, that उस जुल्फ पे फबती शब दैजूर की सूझी अंधे को अंधेरे में बहुत दूर की सूझी. It is much more applicable in this, on this situation. Why don't you imagine if the universe had not been created? Why don't you start from there, from the beginning, and then pose this question, what would have been your religion in that case? See? Have you understood something from this? Because you're nodding very...
Not complete, sir.
All right. So your next question. What a question, He said, if Rasulullah had not come, what would have been my religion?
So I was asked this question because what happened was I was preaching to some Englishman.
Yes.
And he said, look, you talk about Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa all the time. what about our Prophet? If your Prophet had not come, what would you have done? This was the question he phrased me.
Pardon?
This was the question I was
Must
asked.
have been your friend. Must have been a close friend of yours. This is So go on discussing with each other whatever you please, however you please.
May I ask?
Yes.
Hazur, in Surah Sajda, Allah Ta'ala has said, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ
أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ مِّمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. That's right.
And then in Surah Sabah, sir, Allah Ta'ala has said, قُلْ لَكُمْ مِيَادُ يَوْمٍ لَا تَسْتَأْخِرُونَ عَنْهُ
Yes.
سَاعَةٌ وَلَا تَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. لَا تَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. So these two verses are interrelated. Could you kindly explain?
How are they interrelated?
So this is what I want to ask you, because
This is a statement you are making. You are not asking me.
no, they are interrelated. It has been mentioned in the summary given by Malik Ghulam Farid Sahab.
But how are they interrelated? Tell me.
This is one part of the question. Then I will ask.
This is your statement. It's not my statement.
So this Yawmin is related in both of them.
The word Yom appears so many times in the Holy Quran in so many contexts. So wherever the word Yom would appear, you would call it interrelationship?
You see, sir, can I read that what is bothering me?
You first read the translations of both these verses which you have quoted and then try to make yourself clear, please.
Yes, sir. The first one, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ.
Read the translation, please.
We will plan his audience.
We plan what? Just a minute. What did you say? We plan?
We will plan his ordinance.
His
From the
ordinance?
heaven. His means Allah.
We will plan his ordinance.
From the heaven into
Yes.
the earth.
I see.
Then will it go up to him in days and duration of which is 1,000 years, according as is reckoned. This is the translation given by Malik Sahib.
Yes.
The other one is, save for you is the promise of a day from which you cannot remain behind a single moment, nor can you get ahead of it. And then they refer about the day of Battle of Badr in the reference, or the day mentioned in which is recognized and acceptable in Islam as a universal faith begins. Now my question is, this Yawmin is translated as 1,000 years in both cases.
No. In one case it has been mentioned, in other case it is implied that it may have been 1,000 years, and those who are commenting on this verse, they imply that this may be the meaning of Yom here as well. But the word Yom has been used elsewhere to indicate 5,000 years instead. And in another place, in the same Holy Quran, it is used to indicate a period of 50,000 years. So it is anybody's guess then. Either anybody's guess or somebody who claims that in this particular context, the word Yom means 1,000 and not 5,000 and not 50,000 years. He has to prove his case. And in most cases, the word Yom applies only to 24 hours a day. So, which one would apply where? That is the issue. And this remains to be resolved by those who make a commentary, and they have to build their own case and prove it with reference to other verses of the Holy Quran that in this particular context, that connotation of the word Yom is applicable and the other one is not applicable. So this is the general approach. Your question leaves everything vague and unspecified. How can I answer this question without keeping before me any particular data on which I should work? This is how I have told you how you should approach this problem. So unless you quote somebody, the way he argues things and tell me all the factors on which he is depending to build his case, I can neither support him nor refute him. This is just, everything is vague.
So, coming back to Tafsir Saghir, the reference and tashri given there is in Urdu. Can I read that?
Well, you may read it, but to what purpose? That is the point.
Now you see, sir, that links these two verses. That's why I was...
Have you understood it properly?
I'm trying really.
No, that passage to which you are referring,
yes, sir,
does it successfully relate these two things?
Yes, sir, it does anyway.
So why are you asking this question then?
No, what I want to know is...
it is already related, finished.
Oh, it's related, all right, thanks. Yeah.
You have just told me that from a particular passage in Tafsir-e-Kabir, you have come to understand that these two portions are interrelated, and you are perfectly satisfied on that head. Is that not right?
Now, what I want to know is how we refer to 300 years after 1,000 years. This is the...
Which 300 years?
You see, this I'm going
which have never been mentioned before.
You see, sir, this is what they say. एक दिन से मुराद 1000 साल यानी इस्लाम की तरक्की के पहले 300 साल हदीस के मुताबिक मिलाकर 13वीं सदी हिजरी तक ये वादा चलेगा.
Listen, please, don't, you will confuse everything. I know what you mean. Right from the start I knew what you were hinting at, but you are asking as a question something which is not the fit subject for here. It's a separate regular issue which needs explanation and full treatment. And instead of just simply asking that question, how the period of 1300 years is divided according to the Holy Quran and traditions into 1300 years and so on, you are confusing everything and mixing things up and making it difficult for everybody to even to understand the question, not to mention the answer.
I'm sorry.
Please. Thank you. What about the questions which were in your pocket?
That was one of them, so it was not really. May I ask another one? Please.
I don't know what question is coming, so you first state your question and then ask.
Hazur, Islam is very particular about the rights of each individual in the society.
Yes, this is correct.
When some poor nations try to demand their rights, they face multifarious problems of all kinds and proportions, and they get nowhere sorted out by Western society. As a Muslim, how should we reach these rich nations so that they can understand the golden Islamic principles?
You started with individual rights and ended up in national rights. And then, on the other hand, you started by discussing nations and then you switched over to Western societies. What do you mean by Western societies oppose these? Which Western society opposes what national right of somebody else, which has been mentioned as individual right in the Holy Quran? Tell me first that.
So I was trying to refer to the individual rights of a person, which are, in case of poor people, they are not given because they have no say.
Those individual rights are denied them by their respective governments.
That's right, yeah.
So why do you switch over to the Western civilization or international relationship? What you started to say was that the Holy Quran was very specific in describing the rights of individuals. Is that not what you said?
Yes, sir.
So the question should have been relating to this statement which you made. But your question has no relationship to this statement. And then it goes on changing direction
further on. Could you answer that, please?
Pardon?
You have made a nice question for me. Could you kindly answer that?
So we'll ask this question later on, huh?
All right.
And where is the third big question? I want you to get exhausted tonight,
No, I have a lot of questions, sir, but I don't know. Hazur, this verse in the Holy Quran,
Yes.
in Surah Al-Imran, Kuntum khayra ummatin
Ukhrijat lin-nasi
ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkari wa tu'minuna billahi. Hazur, this verse is really meant for our Jamaat. Do you agree with me, please?
What do you mean by really means for your Jamaat?
Because this verse,
This verse applies in the first instance and foremost to the people of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the people he created. Of course, the people physically were created by God in that sense, and even spiritually they are created by God. But I mean, he took over a people in his hands and transformed them altogether. So this, in that regard, Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ has also referred to this phenomenon as the creation of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like it is also mentioned in the Holy Quran that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, created birds from clay. That is again the same reference, that he took up a material which was like clay, dead material, but with inherent qualities to produce life. So he transformed the clay into birds. The birds can fly, Clay is trodden upon. Israelites, before that miracle was shown, were just, like a nation which was being trodden upon by bigger and more powerful nations, and they were just like a clay, a floor of clay, nothing more. And it was dead too. So Hazrat Masih ﷺ, Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, took up a sample of that clay and turned into birds. That is, those who would fly in the heavenly subjects and come into contact and communion with Allah and so on. That was the meaning of that. So in the same context, I am referring to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam having created a people. And every reference to such phenomenon, wherever it is found in the Holy Quran, first and foremost applies to that miracle of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When that miracle is repeated in the latter days, as it is being repeated now, as Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ has pointed out, again it is initially his miracle, and it is being repeated through the agency of Masih Maud ﷺ, who can produce this, being totally subordinate to him. So whatever he does or requires is in fact the doing and acquisition of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't be disrespectful, even by obliquely referring to these things in a manner as if you are more important than the previous people. What is more important is the fact that you should understand that after the advent of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all blessings flowed from him, whether in the first instance or in the second instance of the latter days. So in this context, I didn't like the phrasing of your question at all. But otherwise, that also applies to Jamaat Ahmadiyya, of course. There is no doubt about it. And you have not translated that verse, so those who don't understand, what would they know? What would they consider we are discussing?
You are the best people raised for good of mankind. You do good deeds and forbid evil and believe in Allah.
Why is it translated, you do good deeds? Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf doesn't mean do good deeds.
This is what Malik Sahib has done.
No, this is not correct. Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf means you admonish people to do good deeds. And that shows even a higher quality of the followers of Rasulullah. Here it means after they have themselves transformed their own way of life and they have started doing good deeds, they do not leave it at that. They spread the same good deeds across to other people. And the process becomes a live, progressive phenomenon. This is what is mentioned in this. So, Ta'muruna means they admonish others. It doesn't mean they do themselves do good deeds, because just doing good deeds and dying with those good deeds is not enough. There is no reproductive phenomenon involved in this. But what the Holy Quran is describing is a reproductive phenomenon. So at last we have finished with Chaudhry Rashid Ahmad Sahib's questions, which he has been harping upon for a long, long time. Alhamdulillah, we have done with it.
I have some more, sir.
Bashir Yad Sahib, before we start saying prayer, I should like you to give some chance.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
If the time is short, I can ask a very little question.
No. Go ahead and do what you please. I'll handle it all right, inshallah.
A small question first, Hazur. Please. Will Hazur most kindly advise us if the announcement of lost or found property be made in the mosque?
Tell me, have you lost anything? Or found anything?
I lost one thing, but I found from outside. But he didn't announce here anything like that.
No, I mean, why this occurred to you, this question? Did you really need to ask this question because of something happened, or just in search of question
I
you
don't want
happen
to name
think
somebody.
of it?
I don't want to name somebody, Hazur, who announced something, but that's why I don't want to.
So
name.
this is it. Somebody made an announcement in the mosque about some lost property, and you considered that was not proper. Is that right?
What I had heard, Hazur, long ago, anything which is lost inside the mosque can be announced, but anything which is lost outside the mosque cannot be announced inside the mosque.
You're right, absolutely right. This is why I'm asking. I was wondering why you thought of this question. I wanted to find out what had happened. So after some inquiry, you related to me that somebody did make an announcement in the mosque which you didn't consider proper, and this is why you're asking this question. Is that right?
I think
Yes,
so.
yes. So this is correct. This is not permitted that things which are lost outside should be announced in the mosque, and mosque should be made in an announcement platform where the lost property of is virtually transferred. But if you lose something within the mosque, because it is not sane to announce about things which you have lost in the mosque outside somewhere else, obviously those people who are in the mosque, they would know. So that is permitted. You're quite right. Any other question?
The currency,
Bulai, come here. Have you had to ask a question or no? No? Just came to listen? All right, please. Have you seen your brother in the Wimbledon? On television? How? You went there to see?
My cousin went.
Pardon?
My cousin went.
You didn't see yourself? I see, right.
Hazur, before I ask this question, can I ask a question which Hazur has once
Answered already.
given the answer, but if Hazur want to add something to that answer.
As I knew, I knew what was coming. That's what he does always. You better leave that question alone, which I have already answered. And shift to the other question, please.
This is not asked previously, Hazur.
Pardon?
This is not asked. The one I am asking now is not asked.
Before. Thank you.
As per my knowledge is.
Okay.
The currency in most of the countries display the images of the head of the state. Would this practice be allowed when the head of state is an Ahmadi? Also, if a country elected to install a statue of an Ahmadi dignitary, what would be the attitude of the Jamaat? And would an Ahmadi head of state allow such statues being put up? Could Hazur kindly advise us about the teachings of Islam on these matters?
No, the question is twofold. As far as the teachings of Islam are concerned, I can answer this question positively. But as far as this, this hypothetical question is concerned, that what would happen in future, I don't know whom are you talking about, A wrong-minded person would react differently and a right-minded person would react differently. So how can I answer this hypothetical question when nothing has taken shape so far? And I don't know anything about those future kings and monarchs and the models of statues and everything. So it's just absurd for me to answer that question because that won't be common sense at all. As far as the first part is concerned, statue making for the sake of idolatry is positively prohibited. There is no doubt about it. Also it is prohibited when there is a danger that although the modeler does not, or the sculptor I should say, does not models his statue for the sake of idolatry, but there is an inherent danger that this would ultimately lead people to that. In both these cases, it is un-Islamic and it is very strongly condemned and rejected. But if these two dangers are, there is no danger of such possibilities, these two which I have mentioned. In that case, modeling by itself, in itself, is not prohibited. If it serves some purpose. The only purpose for which this is prohibited is the purpose of idolatry. Or as I have mentioned, if such an act may ultimately lead to idolatry. So in the modern times, I don't think this sculpture making has any connotation of idolatry at all. Or at least mostly it doesn't have, except in the Christian themes, where of course it has that. So if a king's picture is created, his silhouette is created, his shape is given to a stone, and nobody can ever misunderstand what is meant from this. Or even you visit Madame Tussauds, the wax figures of so many people are so beautifully carved. Now, if it had been haram, you shouldn't have gone there at all to visit that haram. The purpose is so different. It is just to introduce almost like live the pictures of some important people, both famous and notorious. So because that purpose in itself is not wrong, so no objection is taken to that. So it all depends from place to place and situation to situation. The same thing may be declared wrong, and the same thing may be declared right according as it is found to occur. Is that all? Okay. If someone someone would like to ask, please come here. Assalamu alaikum.
First of all, I thank my nephew, Mr. Mahmood, who provided me with a chance to attend this meeting.
Would you kindly introduce yourself first?
My name is Raza Nadir. Raza Nadir.
Raza Nadir.
I have come from Islamabad.
I see.
I live in Islamabad.
That's right.
I am on a visit to meet my relatives here.
Right, very good.
Mahmood is my nephew.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very
Who's your nephew?
Mahmood Ahmad.
Acha. Yes. Now I know. Yes.
So, incidentally, I am here, so I wanted to put some questions.
Yes, please.
And which are not clear to me.
Please do.
First of all, from Quran, how many years Hazrat Nuh lived in this world? First question.
Hazrat Nuh I can tell you what, he did not live personally for 950 years. But his Shariat lived for that period. It is the style of the Holy Quran that if a mention in Bible is made to something which may have been understood wrongly, the Holy Quran either rectifies it or rejects it or repeats it in the same way so that people may not misunderstand about what had been said. Now, this portion of the Bible has been taken exactly by the Holy Quran with some slight improvisation. So that shows that in the first instance it was not interpolated into the Bible. It was not added into the Bible. It was exactly what Allah had said.
Yes, sir.
But meaning something different. Now why I say that he did not live and the Holy Quran does not mean that he lived that long is because the history tells us otherwise. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was born according to the chronology of Bible and the history, whatever history is preserved about these prophets, exactly or almost exactly 900 years after Hazrat Nuh. So, if Hazrat Nuh had lived for 950 years, still he would be there with his Sharia and he would be still living, and all that had happened within that time would be under his observation. And what we find is that not only that is not correct historically, but when Hazrat Ibrahim appeared, the whole of the population of that area had become idolaters. And there was no ray of light left, no ray of truth. So how could it happen? Where had Hazrat Nuh gone? What he was doing in that old age, when a full people were destroyed because of rejecting him, and once he was given ascendancy, he ended up in a prophet whose followers had entirely and totally gone corrupt. It is impossible. Obviously it has to be rejected. So in the light of the history, in the light of the facts we know, in the light of the facts related by the Holy Quran, Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ is mentioned in the Holy Quran in a manner that no mention of Noah is made along with him. On the contrary, it is said that Noah was a thing of the past when Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ appeared. In some places the Holy Quran says before him, and the Noah is related to be a man of the past as compared to the following later prophets. Ibrahim is included in that list of the later prophets. Min qablihi is positively mentioned in the Holy Quran. So leaving the history aside, if you must insist that I should base my arguments on the Holy Quran, it is very clear that the Holy Quran does not mean that Noah lived himself 950 years. So what it may mean?
He didn't live.
His period of Sharia the life of his Sharia was 950 years. If my inference is correct, then we must have further evidence to prove that this inference is correct. And that evidence is not only present in the Holy Quran, but suddenly when you look at the evidence, the whole picture becomes so resolute and clear that one feels such a pleasure to learn things in the new light. There are two references to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam which apparently are contradictory to each other. In one place it is said that Abraham had his own books, his own Sharia,
Yes, yes.
which was followed and which was to be followed by prophets later on. And in another place it is said that Abraham was one of the followers of Noah, was found among his people. So these two statements are apparently contradictory. If he had his own Sharia, why should he have followed Hazrat Noah? So the answer lies therein where what I have already described. Because Hazrat Noah's Sharia lasted 950 years, Hazrat Ibrahim lived for first 50 years in his Sharia. So that is what min shiyatahi Ibrahim. Among the followers of Noah was Abraham. This is the mention of the reference in the Holy Quran. And later on, when he reached the full ripe age of 50, he was given his own book and his own teachings, which was an advancement upon the teachings of Noah. So from then on, he is referred to as an independent prophet of his own book.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Okay. Second question. Yes. In Quran it is mentioned regarding Hazrat Musa that when he threw his asa, so his asa became snake and he eaten all the snakes which all the magicians brought with them. Is this true, sir?
Oh, the Holy Quran states it?
Yes, sir.
So it must be true?
Yes, sir. So it actually happened. This is what I am asking about. Actually
What actually is said by the Holy Quran is true.
Right. So some of my friends, MD friends today, they said no, it didn't happen actually. It was just...
What I am saying, please pay more attention to my words. I say what is exactly described by the Holy Quran is exactly true.
Right.
So you may understand a different thing from the description of the Holy Quran than another Muslim from the same words. So the debate is not whether the Holy Quran statement is true or not. The debate would be whether your understanding of that statement is correct or somebody else's understanding of that statement is correct. In this perspective, you can ask your question.
Yes, sir.
You follow me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Follow you.
The issue between you and your MD friends is not that you believe in the Holy Quran and they don't believe. This is not at all the issue. It is impossible. The issue is whether your understanding of what is mentioned in the Holy Quran is correct and more to the point or their understanding. So you can demand their arguments and find out why they think something else is meant.
Yes, sir. Third question, sir. Yes. In Surah Sulaiman, there is a mention clearly that when Princess of Saba was coming to meet Hazrat Sulaiman,
yes.
So Hazrat Sulaiman said to all of his people, sitting in his with him, he said, "Is there anybody who can bring her throne?"
Yes.
So quickly, one jinn, he said, "Yes, I can do it. Before you finish your meeting, I can bring it.
Yes.
I have that power." Utter these words, "I have that strength."
Quite.
So he said, "No." Then another person, he said, "Yes, I can do it." Who had knowledge of Quran. He said, "Yes, if you twinkle an eye, in twinkling of an eye, I can bring it." Yes. And he brought it.
That's
Yes.
right. And what about the bird, Hudhud, who started the whole process in motion? Why don't you mention him?
Sir, I wanted to be clear on this.
No, but are you clear on Hudhud?
No, sir.
So why don't you start from there? And what about the ant?
Yes, sir.
You see, so
He said,
start
you
from,
know, yes.
from the beginning.
Yes, sir. And he heard all of this.
Yes, start from the beginning. And the ant said that he would trample
Yes,
us
his forces
and
are coming.
let's go
Suleiman's
down,
forces
go
coming
into
and
the,
trample. Yes, sir.
the hiding places
Yes, sir.
below the earth and so on. So when you look at it in the totality, then you understand that this is all a symbolic description.
Symbolic description.
Of course, if you read it, start from the ant and the hudhud, then you understand that these animals are mentioned, and this is not what happens in the ordinary world. And the ants do not run to their hiding places, seeing an army marching upon a place, and they don't talk like this.
Yes, sir.
Because you know it. So obviously the Holy Quran cannot discuss anything nonsense. But when you suddenly give it a different twist and consider the entire description to be symbolic, then you begin to understand the message. Then in every case you have to apply symbolism and decipher things instead of taking it on its face value. This is true because about the rest of the prophets you don't find this style. So this is also a way of, this is, let me say, a branch of rhetoric, that the style of the language changes from the situation to situation. Sometimes it becomes simple and flowing and easy to understand. Sometimes when it describes a very colorful event, then the whole language becomes very colorful and heavy and difficult sometimes, and also picturesque. So because the glory of Solomon is being discussed, his great powers and everything, so it is in fitness of things to use a language to suit that situation, particular situation.
Yes, sir.
So because he also had been turned into legend and tales, so the Holy Quran describing his age adopts this style, but also leaves positive indications that what is being discussed is discussed in symbols, not in literal sense. It should not be taken, too literally.
Yes, sir. It happened like that.
Yes, it has to be understood as symbols. For instance, the same jinn, as mentioned elsewhere, in the same context, now in a different context, but the same jinns are mentioned in the Holy Quran, that they dived into water, into sea, to fetch pearls for Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Solomon, etc. And also it is said, in connection with the same stories or tales, that the jinns were made of fire. Were they not?
Yes, sir. Yes, they were.
So how could the fire
would go into water,
dip into the water and come out whole?
Yes, sir.
So there are not only this, there are so many other indications. What of ants and what of hudud and what of all other things.
All symbolic.
That the entire description is symbolic. Yes. You understand this, and then there is the key in your hand, you can turn and open every lock mentioned therein.
That's right, sir. Sir, another question, sir. Last one.
Yes, please.
And I should have your permission to ask this question.
I have permitted you already, please.
Sir, yes. I have so many friends, Ahmadis friends.
Yes.
I have so many relatives who are Ahmadis.
Yes.
And they're very nice people. I respect them. And
I'm very happy that you...
Very religious, yes.
Very
Muttaqi, Parhezgar, this and that. So, and I also believe that population of Ahmadis in Pakistan is, I think, the largest, isn't it?
Is what?
In largest, many people live in, the number of Ahmadis in Pakistan.
You mean comparatively more Ahmadis live in Pakistan than any other single country?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes,
that's correct.
That's right, sir. Yes. So, sir, these days there are so many problems for Ahmadis.
Yes.
So many problems which I am seeing and I don't like. The things being done against them, I personally don't like.
You approve, don't approve
I
of them.
condemn.
Yes,
I condemn the people who are doing it.
Yes.
As a human being.
But you condemn them in our presence and not in their presence.
No, sir, I do it. No, sir.
No, I mean, I'm asking you.
Yes, and no, so I do it.
Because generally this is what happens.
Very openly.
Alhamdulillah.
Very openly.
So you are a brave man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good.
I said, no, you are wrong here. Yes. Everybody, law ikraha fi deen Islam.
Jazakumullah, that's very good. Yes.
So sir, I think, this is my personal opinion,
yes,
and
correct.
that your presence in Pakistan should have been in Pakistan, and you should have stayed in Pakistan.
Why?
To give them encouragement.
To cease to work as Khalifa?
No, sir.
How can I work in Pakistan under this ordinance as Khalifa? An ordinary Ahmadi can live normally the way Islam wants him to live.
They cannot.
Because he has no additional responsibilities to admonish others.
That's right.
In the way I have. So I can't live there for a single moment without relinquishing my office in practice.
That's right.
You don't understand that point?
Yes, sir. That's clear.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I am grateful.
Thank you. You have very intelligently understood it immediately.
Thank you very much.
With some other people I have to go, long distances. Jazakumullah. Thank you. So, Azan please.